Hey there everyone, we are back today to talk about Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. So, Sekiro is, as everybody knows, the latest From Software game, kind of a Souls type of game, but not really, not exactly, I guess I should say not really is kind of not exactly true, but whatever. So this is Sekiro. It's essentially a Souls-ish kind of game based in a kind of fantasy version of a feudal Japan. So in the game you play as Sekiro, and you're attempting to, do some convoluted thing about saving your kind of bloodline, not your bloodline, but a bloodline. I won't get into the story that much. It's not like incredibly important, but I want to talk about the game itself as how it works and how I feel about it. So like, I beat this, I don't know how long it took actually. I don't think it took quite as long as something like a Dark Souls game would, or like Bloodborne did. And I want to say that it's because like it kind of is lacking in some things. So overall, like first of all, like overall it's a great game, but like there's something about it that is lacking in a lot of spaces that Dark Souls and Bloodborne are not. So let me get into that. First, I think the easiest way to talk about this is to give it like a comparison between the previous games that are similar. So in Sekiro, you have a different kind of battle system. So unlike in Dark Souls, you have a stamina meter, you have to be slow and paced, and you have to like, scarcely use your moves, like only attack when you're really going to attack, or you're going to waste up your stamina and you're going to get killed. In this game, there's no stamina, so you can just swing all you want, and you're not gonna get knocked out. There's a different way. That's not to say it's like a button masher, because you still have to swing with a bit of, you can't like just mash the button because you'll get wrecked. But in this case, you don't have to worry about swinging too much. You can swing all you want. It's not gonna ruin your stamina. Instead, you have like a poise meter, which is basically like you can block a certain amount of attacks. Blocking is done with the sword, and there's two kinds of blocks. There's like a standard block, which will just block the damage, but will cause poise damage. And there is kind of a parry block, which is like a deflect mostly. So it blocks the attack and it doesn't cause poise damage. And it'll usually cause poise damage to the enemy. So this game is there's a lot of different kind of things. So in this case, like a lot of times for bosses especially, you're having a battle against poise instead of a battle against health. And I say this because like generally like an enemy will die when you get rid of its health bar, but there's a finisher you can do if you break poise. And the finisher will kill almost everything in one shot. I say almost everything because bosses usually have multiple. But in this case, the poise will break, and you can do it before the health goes down. And actually, as the health goes down, the poise is more likely to go up. So it's easier and easier to break their poise once their health gets lower, which is important for some bosses, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes like the poise is basically the same as the health, and you're never going to get there until like it's basically even. But so it's a different kind of battle system altogether. First of all, you have one weapon. You have your base sword. That's it. It's not like a Dark Souls or Bloodborne where you're actually like, you have variation, like you can choose a playstyle. Sekiro has basically one playstyle. There's some slight variation with how you use your secondary tools, but a general battle is not going to be won entirely with secondary tools. It's not like the general play style is kind of the same for everything. Like you know, you're either blocking or deflecting enough to break something's poise to kill it, or you're dodging and attacking enough to kill it. That's basically all you got. There's not like I mean, there's a strategy to it, but it's not as varied as something like a Dark Souls or Bloodborne, where you have like, okay, I have to play a totally different style because of I'm using this big heavy weapon, or I'm using a really light weapon, or something like that. It's not exactly the same kind of game. So, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's kind of a downside. I don't feel like, okay, so I finished Sekiro, but I don't feel like, unlike Bloodborne or Dark Souls, I don't feel the need to go back and play it again. Like, I probably will. Like, I'll probably play through it another time, but like, because there's a bunch of endings, so like, I only got one of them. But unlike those other games like that offer you a variety, so in Bloodborne or Dark Souls, you can like make an entirely, like, play through the game entirely again, but have a totally different feel. So like, if you want to play through Dark Souls with like, a longsword, your playthrough and the way you fight things is totally different if you're going to play through using like a cestus or something. It's like a totally different way you have to go about playing the game. With Sekiro, you don't really have that option. There's no variation to it. It's like, you're Sekiro, you got your sword, that's what you're doing. So like, for me, I feel like it's a good game, but like, it kind of loses a bit on the ability to like play in any way you want. And it was a point for me at the beginning of the game where I thought, Jesus, I'm really not having fun with this. And it was because like the play style is not okay. So if you play Dark Souls or Bloodborne and you play with that kind of dex style where it's like very like aggressive and like kind of in your face, you have to do a lot of like parrying and stuff. It's kind of like the dex build style. You'll probably like Sekiro like right off, but for me, that's my least favorite way to play Dark Souls. Like, a dex build is my least favorite build. It's my least favorite way to play. So starting Sekiro is like being forced to play the game my least favorite way. Which, it's still like, even my least favorite way is still like relatively fun. But for Sekiro in the beginning, I was thinking like, man, this is like, it's hard, but it's not like not fun because it's hard. It's not fun because like I hate the playstyle. And like, eventually I just got used to it. Now it's kind of like, all right, fine. Like, it's not my like preferred way to play, but like for Sekiro, it's the only way to play. So like, you kind of have to. It's a bit of a, I don't know, it feels like a step back in terms of how you want to play the game, like your own way. That was like a lot of the kind of joy of playing Dark Souls, was like, or Bloodborne even, was like getting a weapon and basing your new playthrough on the like playing on this goofy weapon. So like, there's so many types of things where like in Dark Souls, you just like, okay, I'm going to play through this game with only the bone wheel as my weapon. Like, you can do that, and it makes like a whole new fun layer to the game. Sekiro has none of that. It's gone. It doesn't have ability scores in the same way. So it's not like, it's more of like a set game where you're playing through it in a specific way with a specific character, and there's very little variation to that. So like I said, there's no stats per se. So like, you have the ability to raise your health and to raise your strength. That's it. Like, you don't need any more. It's like your health and poise bars will go up, or your strength will go up. And you can do, your health can go up to a maximum, I believe, 20. I was only at 19 when I finished, and I think I missed some mini bosses somewhere. But the idea of this is that like, you can go to a certain max health, and then like I don't know what the max power is. I wasn't even remotely close to even 19. I wasn't even close to matching my health. So like at the end, I think I was at like 12 power or something. But you get power by defeating bosses, or like there's a way later on you can use experience to raise your power. But either way, you're just like you can get slightly stronger. You can get slightly more health. It's like your only ways to upgrade your character. So there are ways there is like an extensive chain of weapons you can get though. So like there's a sub weapon where you'll get like I think there's like 5 or 6 different sub weapons, and you can upgrade them along a certain path. In one playthrough, I think it's not possible to upgrade them all, which is normal, I guess. It's not. I don't know. I think when I was playing through, I felt like a lot of the sub weapons I never even felt like the need to use. So some like mainly the ones I used were the fire throwing thing where you could light people on fire because it like can chip damage away people and like get rid of poise. And then I used the fireworks to distract things, and shuriken for faraway weapons. And every once in a while I use the whistle, which is helpful to get enemies to leave their position so you can stealth away or stealth kill them. But there's a bunch of other things, like there's an umbrella for protecting things. There's like one point in the game really where I like even remotely felt the need to use the umbrella. And like I'm sure it's helpful in other locations, but like I mean I didn't feel like I needed it except for one spot. And then there's like 2 other things. There's kind of a feather and a fan that I never used. I never used them in battle. I'm sure there's a way like that it's really cool to use them. No clue. Never even tried. So the game doesn't really set itself up as in the same way as like having a lot of builds, having a lot of variation. You've got like a small amount of variation and a very set kind of character. But that doesn't mean that the game is linear. You can go kind of various places, and I kind of screwed myself in the beginning because like playing the game along, I started in a way that like I was way ahead of where I should have been. Like, to give you an example, I was fighting like later bosses in the game before I finished tutorial sections. So like there's a part in the game where you can like do a tutorial. There's like tutorial messages will come up to like tell you to do certain things, and like I had fought like 4 or 5 bosses before I encountered the first kind of mini boss you're supposed to encounter, where it like gives you an explanation of like what some stuff happens when you're fighting the bosses. Like I'd already fought like whole sections bosses before I even got to that first part. So like I went like I don't know what I did, but I went like a really odd way apparently through the game in the beginning at least. So I mean even later on, like I missed some parts where I was like way ahead of where I should have been, because like I'd go back and I'd be like, I don't know what to do right now. Guess I'll just wander around and look for places that I hadn't found before. And then, like I'd find a boss in like an area that like a game boss, like something that was important that I had missed totally in like a section that I had been in and already went past. So, it would happen that I'd fight that boss, and then like I'd get a dialogue like, you have to do this. And then I'd just like, I already did all that. So like, I knew I did things out of order. So it didn't, it's not like exactly linear, though it is more direct in the terms of like the story. There's not like, I mean, there's still lore and things like that, like the previous games, but it's much more like exactly telling you what's going on. It seems like a less exciting way to tell the story. I guess, I mean, it's fine. It's not bad or anything, but it's more a standard way to tell the story is what I should say. So overall, you have this kind of game that, yeah, I mean, overall, it's a fun game. It's a great kind of game to play. It's like satisfying to beat. It's fun to go through. Um, but it's for me, it's like lacking a lot of the things that I really enjoy about Dark Souls and Bloodborne, which was like making ridiculous builds and playing in strange ways. Like you can't really do that. You just have like the base kind of thing and a new type of game over it. So like you have a set character, set thing, and it kind of takes away a bit of the fun of the thing for me. Like although like I went through and enjoyed everything, and there are a lot of interesting things that happen. So I mean the game looks great, and there's lots of kind of things that aren't in the Souls games. So there's a stealth mechanic. So like you have to sneak around, and sometimes there's areas where it's like ridiculous to run into and fight, so you can stealth kill a bunch of people and do certain things to like get through it stealthily. Um, that's all right. Like a lot of my issues with this game is that it like combines things that I just don't like. So stealth games, I like not a fan. I don't really like stealth as a mechanic. I think it's kind of clunky, and in this it's not like incredibly good either. But like I don't think almost any game has a really good stealth mechanic that's like realistically useful. Like you know how in like Metal Gear or something, like the stealth is like based on this weird cone of vision for the enemies. Like it's not how vision works. Like like when you look, you don't have a cone of vision like this unless you have like a weird eye problem where you have like no peripheral vision. And like that's kind of how um stealth works in games, and it's really off-putting to me. And Sekiro is not exactly like that, because there is a certain amount of like visual for the enemies, but like you can kind of mitigate it by like hiding or whatever. And it sort of like gets around the visual part, and there's also like an audio component to it. So like depending on how much noise you're making, the enemies might be alerted by that instead of by seeing you, which makes it's like a bit extra level to it, which is okay, but like it still has the problem of it being somewhat ridiculous. Like like because in some cases like you can stealth kill people in plain view, but like just out of the range of their like alert. You can stealth kill people, and like any like in real life anybody would be able to see that. It's kind of like silly that like they're just not reacting, like 10 feet away, like slightly back into the left, somebody's being murdered. Like nobody would not notice that. But it's not like particularly this game that is like guilty of that. It's basically every stealth game ever. It's stupid to me. I just don't really enjoy stealth, and I also don't enjoy the kind of like um, fast-paced kind of parry-heavy combat. It's not that I hate that. I mean, I did that in Dark Souls too, so it's not like I just avoided that. It's just like was my least fun way to play. So Sekiro takes like the kind of I don't know, the basic kind of way that a Souls games work, and gives you like a different way. So like in Souls games, if you die, you like leave your soul somewhere and you have to go back or you lose everything. Sekiro doesn't have that. It has like a experience bar system where like once you get that experience bar, you never lose it even if you die. But like if you're halfway through, you'll lose half when you die. You can't go back and pick it up. It's not the same kind of thing. Also, if you die, you have the ability to resurrect once, and you can upgrade that to, I think, well, I got it to 3 times. I don't know if there's more than that. There could be. I don't know. I didn't look a walkthrough up or anything. But so I had 3 resurrections, but you can't like die and resurrect 3 times in a row. Like you have to kill some guys before the resurrect will come back, or you can use an item. There's an item that will like give you a bonus. But overall, like, man, what do I think about Sekiro? I finished it and I was really happy to finish it, but you know, like I hopped into New Game Plus for like a half an hour and I was just like, why am I even doing this? Like it's exactly the same. Except, well, like New Game Plus is not exactly the same. It's kind of screws with the mechanics of the game a bit. But so like for example, in New Game Plus, like a block doesn't negate all damage. So it means you have to like totally learn how to play the game again, which might be fun for some people, but like I don't want to play through another like Dex build. I feel like, you know, like I want to play it again, but I want to play it with a different weapon. I want to play it with like a different strategy. Like I want to play it with a magic character, which is not existent in this. Like it's not. I realize like it's not a Souls game. I shouldn't be like expecting that, but like, you know, Bloodborne isn't like technically a Dark Souls game, but like it has enough variety where like you can, you know, play through the entire game again and have it feel totally different. Whereas like playing Sekiro again, like I just felt like this feels the same. Like I just feel like I'm going through the motions again, but with a higher difficulty. Like not exactly fun. So I don't know, like I want to say that I like Sekiro a lot. Like if there is a sequel, I'll buy it, but like again, right now I don't feel the need to play through it again. So like out of all those games, out of Dark Souls 1 through 3 and Bloodborne and Sekiro now, I'd probably put Sekiro as my lowest. And still like that it's still like really highly rated. I don't want like anyone to think that I hated it or anything or I didn't think it was good. But it's the least replayable for me. It's the least exciting to play again. Yeah, it's the one that like gave me a kind of play style that I, you know, could enjoy, but you know, had to work to enjoy. Whereas like Bloodborne, I could just, or Dark Souls, I could just make a play style that I enjoyed and like go with that. And you know, this doesn't give me that option. So, you know, I feel like it's a great game. I'd recommend buying it if you like stuff that's hard, because it's hard. It again, like there was a kind of a controversy about this, like there is for every Dark Souls game, where like some ridiculous person will be like, they should put an easy mode in for people who aren't good at games. Like that's dumb too. You know what? What I say to those people? The normal mode of Sekiro is the easy mode. I mean, like, part of the game was that I played through about half of the game on the hard mode by accident. And I'm saying this because, like, I went through the game and I rang the bell and it gives you, like, a upgrade to, it gives you, like, the enemies an upgrade. So it, like, makes the game harder. It's kind of like the normal mode of the game is the easiest it's going to get. And then you have like a way to make it harder is the only thing that exists in the regular game. And I rang that bell and I thought like, oh yeah, okay, I got this item and I can make it easy again, but it'll give me more experience for now. So I was like, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to go back to this other place and I'm going to grind for a bit just so I can like get this skill that I want, because this will make it go faster. And I did that. And then I like got the skill and I stopped for a day. And then I came back the next day and started playing again, and I totally forgot that I had the skill level up. So like it didn't change the feel of the game that much, but like apparently it makes the bosses a lot harder, which is, you know, like, so like in that, when I had that thing on, I was like I was like, wow, like these bosses get really hard after this point in the game. And then I was like really kind of like, God, you have to like almost do these perfect. Like almost all the bosses are like one-shotting me or like two-shotting me. So, and I was like, oh, well, okay. Then like I got towards the end of the game and I was like, oh, because I have this stupid hard mode thing still on, there's like a little icon in the corner of the screen. I was like, what is that icon anyway? And then I was like, oh shit, I've been on hard mode forever. So I like, no wonder why it's been so hard. And then, you know, so I fought like all the way up through the the owl battle. You if you've never played, you don't know what that means, but like, so like from before the first time you fight the end boss to the owl battle, from there I fought like entirely in the bell on mode, like an idiot. So yeah, that, I mean, it made the game hard, but like it again, it didn't feel unfair or anything. So like even then, like, and by that point I was already having fun with it. So like it wasn't like that was like the reason I felt like I wasn't enjoying it. Like it was really just like the beginning couple hours where I was just like, I just don't like this play style. But as I, you know, the game itself is good, and it came in, you know, it came into a situation where like towards the end I was just like, well, this is not bad. And like, as you guys see, like I just like uploaded a video of me fighting the Demon of Hatred. It's like it's like the super hard kind of like optional boss that you have in the game. And like fighting that thing, like it's kind of, you know, you just like, once you memorize the stuff, like you can just go through, and like the third part is like annoying, and I was like going through it trying to remember like the third stage, and there's like a bunch of stuff you have to remember, and then I was just like, well, wait, I can just cheese this. So like the video is like normally playing for two modes, and then like I just cheese the third. You can like blow a whistle and stun lock him, so it's just like avoid the first attack and then stun lock with a whistle. It's like a super cheese. But like you know, that's kind of how it worked. But and then like the end boss is like kind of ridiculous. Like I felt like I had a real tough time with it. It took forever. And doing that was like, it was fun, but like, man, like you have to learn a lot of boss modes for that. Like it's a bunch of stages, and like eventually like you just get it and you can do it every time. But man, it's a bit of a rough going when you're trying to learn like the fourth stage of it, and you have to like fight your way through the 3 stages before that. It's kind of a mess. So like, you know, overall I liked the game, but I feel like it's the weakest of all of them. And I know a lot of people are like freaking out about that. Probably a lot of you are going to disagree, but like I've seen people like posting that go, this is the best Souls game ever, and like I can't agree with that. I just feel like it's a great game, but it's the worst of the of all of them, and only because of the reasons I've specified. Like the gameplay itself, spot on. There's no problems with it. It's the difficulty, great. The bosses, interesting, fun to fight. It's all good, except it lacks what the other games had that make them kind of like magically replayable. Sekiro, I'm just gonna put it away, and like maybe like months later I'll play it again when I'm like feeling like maybe I want to play it again. I might not even play it again. I don't even know, because like who knows. But that's like the saddest part. I just feel like it should be, you know, when I get one of these like a Souls type of game, like From Software game, I think of it as like a game I'm going to play 100 times. Like, I mean, I've played through Dark Souls a million times. I played through Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne a bunch of times. And Sekiro is the first one that I feel like no reason to play again. It's just going to be the same thing, same way I did it the first time, just again. It's not interesting. So that's it. That's going to be my video. So yeah, I will end here. I mean, if you guys have any other questions for me or comments, or you want to argue with my point, whatever, fine. Do it in the comments, and I will, I'll just block you because I don't, no, I'm just kidding. No, just go ahead. I'll answer your questions in the comments. So yeah, see you next time.